Good morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I hope you're all well. In this week's parsha, we encounter the plagues. And one fascinating question is, doesn't it seem unfair to demand that Pharaoh do something and then prevent him from doing that by hardening his heart, rendering him incapable of changing his mind and letting the Israelites go? That is exactly what the Torah is saying that God is doing, right? If we assume, as we do, that one of the primary aspects of being a human is being free, having the ability to choose, having the ability to change one's mind, having the ability to obey God, then how can God prevent Pharaoh from exercising his free will and yet then punish him for it? That is not a modern question. Classical Jewish commentators like Rashi, Nachmanides, Maimonides, they all thought about that, and it troubled them. But here are a couple of thoughts. It reminds us that this point of the story is not just the political, physical goal of the Israelites becoming free. A secondary and perhaps even primary purpose of the story as well is to recognize the power of God. And the question is, how does the hardening of Pharaoh's heart accomplish that? Because it suggests that even though we do have freedom, that freedom itself is a gift from God. So in other words, the reality of our freedom ought to remind us of the person who bestowed it, or the being who bestowed it upon us. And finally, in terms of the actual mechanics of hardening one's heart, Maimonides suggests, I think, following his always present teacher and interlocutor, Aristotle, that the act of sin is something that is a habit. One forms habits, could be good habits, could be bad habits. And this, in a sense, is a kind of a parable of Pharaoh doing something often enough so that, in effect, the habit of refusal, in this case, is just something that becomes ingrained in him. But however you want to understand this, the reality is that this story is as much about God's power and the recognition by humans of God's power as it is of the political story of just the Israelites battling with the Egyptians for their freedom. Shabbat Shalom.